it's Linda Fox. I'm Senior Reporter at PhocusWire. We're in the studio at Travel Technology Europe, and I am with Boyd Cohen, and he's CEO of Iomob. Did I say that correctly?
You did,
okay.
Thanks.
So you're one of the startups participating in the
Battleground?
Battleground, thank you, yes. It's the first time that's actually here this year, that's why I stumbled over the word. So tell us about your business.
Iomob stands for the Internet of Mobility, and what we are doing is building a plug-and-play marketplace for mobility so that the travel and transport sector, our clients, enterprise, can offer a seamless mobility experience inside their own apps to their customer base. So that when a user arrives to a new city, they don't have to download all these different apps for ride hailing like Uber and Lyft and all the rest, or scooters and bikes and public transit. They can actually do their entire journey seamlessly in our client's app.
So it's essentially, it's a B2B play?
Correct.
Okay. And what's your own kind of background in generally, and why have you decided to do a travel startup?
So I have a PhD in entrepreneurship, and I've worked for the last 12 years in the smart cities arena. And one of the big topics in cities is mobility, of course.
Yeah.
As we have more people living in cities and traveling to cities, we have a lot of traffic congestion, and we have a lot of challenges getting people from A to B once they land in a destination. And I discovered obviously those pains through the work I was doing in smart cities, and recognized there was a great opportunity to find a way to enable users to more seamlessly navigate all this complexity of all these different services that are arriving to cities, and to be able to do it in a unified way. And of course, it makes sense for us to do this and deliver it to major transport and travel companies instead of trying to do it direct to the consumer, because who are we? We don't have a brand, we don't have any users. So we said, no, we're going to work with really big partners who would like to offer this seamless door-to-door experience to their customers when they get on the ground somewhere. And it's actually working really well so far.
So, an obvious question might be that, is that not something that Google Maps could do?
Oh, we get that question a lot. I actually have a document, it's a 3-page document on the elephant in the room. Why doesn't Google do this?
I mean, they've destroyed so many kind of angles for so many travel startups.
For sure. So their mapping is great, no doubt. They're weak on what we would call intermodal routing, which is the idea of combining two services or more together. So like, in many cases, I have a great example in Barcelona where I live, which is the best way to get from where I live to where the Mobile World Congress is and the Smart City Expo, is to take a train, get off in the middle, and take a taxi. Google doesn't give you that kind of combination. Iomob gives you that combination. It allows you to book and pay for it inside our client's app, so the client user doesn't have to download other apps and figure it out themselves. So there's a lot of things we do they don't do, and we're also focused on aggregating an open mobility marketplace. So if you look at Google right now, they mostly tell you private car time. They tell you, well, you could take an Uber. In some cases they'll tell you that, but you still have to jump out and download Uber. They will tell you public transit time, but we have scooters, bikes, taxis, rail, public transit, and in most cases fully integrated, so that the user never has to have all these different apps, which is not Google's model.
No, okay, fair enough. So another obvious question perhaps is what makes you think that your startup will succeed? On the one hand, there's lots of mobility startups out there, and some touching on the intermodal side. So, from your perspective, what have you got that they haven't got?
Yeah, good question. So I think one of them is our proprietary intermodal algorithms that we built in-house that allow us to very seamlessly offer to a user a range of different options to go from A to B that allow them to combine, as I gave the example, of public and private services. Our focus on deep integration, so here in the UK, Citymapper is very famous. We have a similar experience that we offer via B2B to the end user of the seamless travel options A to B, except we support deep integration instead of what they do is light integration. So in Citymapper, you see a scooter, I want that scooter. Oh, then you have to jump out to the scooter app and actually download it and onboard it and then pay for it in there. So we make it more seamless, and of course our model is B2B instead of B2C.
Sure. So what about funding? Again, another kind of essential question with a startup. What's your position?
Yeah, so we've raised money last year and this year from Asia Pacific investors, from Techstars, which is a very famous technology accelerator, and from a mobility and venture capital fund out of Spain called B4Motion. and we're expecting to close another round at the end of March.
Okay, so we won't worry about you in that respect then. And what are your sort of top 3 goals when you're, for that investment? Geographical expansion, or your tech stack, or your...
Yeah. So we have 3 uses of funds for this for the round we're closing. One is we're rolling out a series of SDKs, if you're familiar with those, that get inserted into our client apps, because we started with a white label app we were offering our customers, so it was the full stack solution.
Yeah.
And we've discovered most of our clients have an app they prefer to drive their users through rather than starting a new app. So we're launching SDKs this year. We are rolling out something we call the micromobility bundle. So we are proactively recruiting a lot of micromobility players. Those are scooters, bikes, mopeds, integrating them deeply into our platform, and then offering them. In fact, we just are signing a deal to offer this micromobility bundle to 1.2 billion users of 2 OTAs and a super app. So that we have to deliver by the end of June. So that's another one. And then the third one is our proprietary algorithms that we've developed have to be tested every city we roll out to. And in this year, we're planning to roll out to 100 European cities, so that we literally have a plug and play mobility marketplace for any customer. On Friday, we're meeting with one of the big UK rail operators as a finalist to offer the solution to them. And they want to know that we can deliver them content seamlessly for their user base in the UK. So to do that, we have to have these routing algorithms tested and working in all the important cities in Europe. So whether you're a UK operator or a pan-European online travel agent and you want to give access to your users to all this mobility content, if you want it seamlessly interconnected, then we need to make sure our algorithms are working in all those cities. So it's going to roll out our algorithms in 100 cities this year.
Okay, so quite a lot going on there. So when we were talking before we started, you mentioned becoming more than just transportation, but becoming travel as well. How do you approach that? Is the approach the same? How do you bring in those additional elements?
Yeah, good question. I think that we started as a focus on transportation companies, so rail and bus operators, some airlines, and regional transportation authorities, so government agencies, and we have projects in those areas right now. But we've discovered through inbound interest that the travel industry as well is interested in our solution for obvious reasons, which is everybody's trying to figure out how to offer a fully end-to-end solution to their customer inside their own app, for example. And we offer them the ability to sort of kind of become a super app with a plug and play SDK that inserts into their own app that allows them this ground mobility experience. So we've got inbound demand for it. I think one of the nuances that we found is that in the transportation industry, our clients have their own transportation services they want to be seamlessly integrated into our algorithms and the full user experience. So for example, rail operators want to solve door-to-door, where they have a big part of the journey, which is say the travel between 2 cities, but once you get in those cities, they don't have a way to help you figure that out. So they want to solve door-to-door, connecting their services to new ones, whereas OTAs and other travel agencies are not, or organizations are less concerned about integrating their own existing mobility services because they don't have them, and more just offering this as a new experience, as a new button, a new experience. So that's the difference.
Okay, and just one final thing, because I'm fascinated about this idea of you doing a PhD in entrepreneurship. What does that actually entail?
Well, I finished that in 2001, and the funny thing is I thought when I finished that I knew everything about entrepreneurship, and then I was teaching entrepreneurship for a few years in universities, and I realized I didn't know anything about what it is to actually be an entrepreneur.
It must evolve the whole time.
It was very academic, and so I didn't really know the real life. So that's when I started, like 2 or 3 years after I got my PhD, I started launching my own companies. This is my 6th company.
Prior to the PhD in entrepreneurship?
No, so I say I got a new PhD after I started a couple companies and I realized what the real life of an entrepreneur is. So I feel bad for my students from the first couple years when I didn't know what I was talking about.
I'm sure you did. Boyd, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Okay.